With us now on the Wester Hotline is our friend Tyler Dunne, golongtd.com. We won't put you on the spot asking you what you're watching right now, Tyler, but in general, how are things?
Tight end game film is what Tyler's watching.
Yes, would love that.
Things are good. Yeah, living down here in the glorious southern tier now. Grew up in the greater Salamanca, Ellicottville area, so built a house, 3 kids. Life's crazy. Wouldn't want it any other way.
Where was your last road trip?
Last road trip, I drove to Allen Park, Michigan last week, and then Foxborough a week or two before that.
Detroit, cover for the Lions? Was that what you were doing in Michigan?
Yeah. I sat down with Al-Quaneen Muhammad, who is a maniac. That story will be out tomorrow. He's a wild man, and also always love learning about Dan Campbell. I mean, you can't, like, the Dan Campbell stories are just nonstop from players, from coaches. Love everything he does there. It's really a blueprint for every coach, every team. Even though they lost, I get it. But, maybe you don't want your players smacking other players across the face like Brian Branch did. But it was funny, guys. Did you hear, was it Zaire Franklin came out for the Colts? He was like, yeah, Juju needed that. We all love what Brian Branch did. So yeah, I guess maybe it pays to get smacked.
It's nice when you're a figure in the league that other players think needs to get punched. That's good. And on Campbell, it's a very vague thing to say because, what are you going to think of to counter it? But has the entirety of NFL media ever been more wrong about someone than we all were about Dan Campbell? He was a joke when he took that job.
You know what, Bulldog? It's not just media. I was chatting with somebody who was seated in that Cleveland Browns front office when they were looking for a head coach, when they might have hired Freddie Kitchens. And when Dan Campbell had his interview, I mean, Jimmy Haslam really couldn't get past the fact that this was a coach who wanted to run the ball and play good defense. I mean, they were so obsessed with analytics, they just looked at him like a dinosaur. So it wasn't just, self-righteous media members laughing at Dan Campbell, which was always ridiculous and to be expected, I guess. It was, people making the decisions. They look down at him. So I love it, man. I mean, football, as long as there's blocking and tackling and you physically have to move another human being. I suppose in our lifetime, they'll stick flags and belts and try to get people to watch. But until then, you need a coach who emphasizes this stuff. It matters. And he emphasized it from day one and completely turned around one of the most losing franchises in NFL history.
I guess I just feel like I have to say, I don't think he's Dan Campbell without the numbers, though. Like that's the thing about him is he won over everybody. I thought Bulldog was about to say, has there ever been a coach that everybody liked more or respected more?
That's same, yeah.
He's way up there on that list, but some guys have the pull, they have the aura, they have the ability to, get you to run through the proverbial wall for them. But a lot of those same guys, might be stereotyping, don't give you the other thing.
Well, certainly. He definitely looked like the stereotype and came off like the stereotype that would never respect that stuff. That's a part of the story, I think.
Yeah.
And he started 4-19-1. I mean, I think Brian Callahan was just fired. He had a 4-19 record with the Titans, but just goes to show it's how it looked, right? Even when they're losing all those games early on, I mean, you could tell he was building something. I mean, these players, they wanted to run through a brick wall. I remember sitting out with Panay Sewell at one point, early on in this rebuild, and he just looked me dead in the eye, and he's like, I would die on a football field for this team, this coach. I'm like, get out of here. That's you're exaggerating. He goes, no, I would die on a field. So Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes, they know exactly what they're looking for inside of players, and I think that's a big part of it too. Is the speeches are awesome. He wants to throw you in the deep end and see if you can swim with his team. All those analogies work. But I think Dan Campbell knows it's got to be in you. You can't just, hand out toughness pills to your players. You've got to be looking for something when you're drafting guys and signing guys. And they always know what they're looking for when they're building a roster.
With Tyler Dunne. So back to home base here. This is the question of the week. Just what you think the Bills really are. I mean, they have lost 2 games in a row every one of these years. And I can only sort of remember, but do think that right now last year after 2 straight losses, which were pretty ugly themselves, we're like, maybe this isn't that bad. And they won almost every game the rest of the way. How do you feel about this year's version?
Right, at least this time around, fellas, there's no concussion controversy, and we're all wondering, did Josh Allen really, suffer a concussion banging his head on the turf there at NRG Stadium? So I guess that's the sunny side up, right? But there's a lot that is going wrong. I mean, I'm sure you guys have been power ranking it all week. I mean, I don't even know where you start because it is concerning. Like, back to how things look. Like, it doesn't look right. It seems like the offense doesn't even really know what it wants to be. But I'd probably start with the defense. When you give up 335 first-half yards to the Atlanta Falcons, like that's problem number one, especially when you've got a head coach whose specialty is on that side of the ball. Like, every team has injuries, and the Bills have injuries. Those are real on both sides of the ball. But watching that Atlanta game, I just kept thinking back to the 49ers and Rams a couple weeks ago, Thursday night. Kyle Shanahan, what's his specialty? It's offense. And you look at everybody that he's without in that game: Brock Purdy, Ricky Pearsall, Brandon Ayuk, Jawan Jennings, Ben Bartch as guard, George Kittle. Maybe the best player on their entire team, Nick Bosa, is out. And what does Shanahan do? He gets 342 passing yards out of Mac freaking Jones, who by the way, wasn't healthy himself when they beat the Rams,
right.
A team with Super Bowl aspirations. So I don't know. I think, you've got to ask for more out of your head coach to kind of patch these leaks and just make it work with what you have and maybe not give up 300-plus yards and a half. So there's a lot of problems, but I guess I'd start there because it's reminiscent of the playoffs when you're down a couple guys and Patrick Mahomes barely, breaks a sweat.
I respect starting there, and certainly it's, indisputable what happened. But they also only gave up the 21 points and then held them to a field goal in the second half, and that brings us to the offense, Tyler, because to me, that has been, despite McDermott's area of expertise, that should be and has been. I think this team's fastball is Josh Allen and an offense that can light up the scoreboard, and they look like they've lost their way here the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, it's like, you shouldn't just lose Dalton Kincaid, Curtis Samuel, and then Josh Palmer soon into the game and look that feeble. Like, I can't sit here and, defend Josh Allen in the offense when they score 14 points, in a dome. Isn't it wild, though? Like, a few years ago, I remember, talking to Bills players about this, and they kind of lamented the fact that they had an offense that was built for a dome. And that I think Isaiah McKenzie said this on their show. If we got Cincinnati in a dome, we would have blown them out. And he's probably right. And so what did they do out of that playoff loss? They changed the structure of their offense, and I think there was a lot of intelligence to that. Like, you got pushed around in your own house by Cincinnati. You just looked like a soft football team when it mattered most. So you put resources into the offensive line. You emphasize running the ball. I mean, it definitely was made clear to Joe Brady, this is the direction that we want to take this thing. And you're a one game from the Super Bowl last year. So there's a lot of good there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's good to run the ball, as we were just saying with Dan Campbell. But now there you are in a dome, and it just looks like a completely different offense than what everybody's used to. So maybe they can't really toggle between play styles, and blowtorch teams with 3, 4, 5 wide while also bashing away with the run. So that's a big problem. I don't know. I still, maybe it's unpopular. I still like what the GM did over the offseason. I think that Brandon Beane is looking at the big picture, and to him the best way to help Josh Allen is by building up a defense, giving him an offensive line. I think he's looking at Miami and even Cincinnati and seeing all that money tied up in those receivers and their roster construction and thinking, no, we don't want to get caught up into those issues. But, man, they definitely lack explosion. And, you shouldn't just lose a couple guys and see it go bad so fast, I suppose.
With Tyler Dunne, the big question, apart from these issues internally, in terms of the playoffs, I think, is the Patriots. At least that's the first question is, maybe there will be a Kansas City one later. There often is. But whether New England is good enough to push them, what do you think?
They absolutely are good enough to push the Bills. I get a kick out of it. I talked to a lot of those former coaches with the Chicago Bears for our Caleb Williams, Ryan Poles, Bears series ahead of the season. And I get it. There'll be pushback, and folks will say, oh, it's sour grapes. They have an axe to grind. And, yeah, I mean, they were pissed off. They lost their jobs, and one of the reasons was their quarterback didn't care that much. But they provide detail, right? They're giving you stories. It was pretty jarring to then talk to a former coach for the Patriots who got fired that was on Gerard Mayo's staff and hear him just gush about Drake May and paint him as a future star in this league because of how he works. Basically the opposite of Caleb Williams in every conceivable way. How he sees the field, the pre-snap the pre-snap brains to know where he's going to go with the football, but also the post-snap, like the spatial awareness to kind of see in his peripheral vision everything that's going on in addition to the big arm, the athleticism. This is somebody that is going to put in the work, and he thought he'd be a top 5 quarterback in 2026. He thought it'd take that long for him to kind of grasp Josh McDaniels' offense that puts so much on your plate, and also for the Patriots to maybe get a weapon because they don't really have a lot of weapons at all. And here he is. He's a top 5 quarterback right now. They're on that rookie quarterback contract. They just spent, $260-270 million to get Mike Vrabel kind of guys. They just beat the Bills in their house. I think about an easy schedule. I think this goes right to December with the Patriots and the Bills.
With Tyler Dunne, golongtd.com. Best team in the league right now is not obvious. You might have how many, possible teams that could lay claim to that? Maybe 8, maybe more. I don't know. Who would your answer be?
Yeah. Do people like this parity? That's what the league wants, right? Like they kind of want everybody at 2-4 to 4-2, and I don't know. I'm not going to take that Daniel Jones bait again. And Aaron Rodgers is winning games, but it's dinking and dunking, and kind of winning with the tipped field goal the way Mike Tomlin teams do. We'll see what happens in the playoffs with them. So that's like the silver lining here for Buffalo is you still have the reigning MVP. You still have time to get healthier and figure everything out. I do think part of it, too, is I think they are saving some stuff. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but I think they're trying to be fully formed by January and maybe hold back a little bit, kind of similar to Kansas City. It's the different way of thinking. It's kind of like the old Greg Popovich Spurs where you spend a couple months just kind of playing possum with teams. And I don't know, maybe it's an excuse. There shouldn't be an excuse if they look bad in Atlanta. But I do think that the Bills are maybe holding back some stuff and that maybe they got to pull it out a little sooner than they expected. So they're right there. Allen doesn't look great. But when you look at the league as a whole, to your point, who really scares you, right? Like Joe Burrow's out. Lamar Jackson is currently hurt, and the Ravens are a mess. Like these teams that you thought you'd have to get past to win a Super Bowl are banged up, except for one.
The Chiefs.
Except for Kansas City.
The Chiefs are still
healthy,
right.
And I'd be scared as hell of them right now.
Yeah, that's the team. It wouldn't take me long to get to them if I were trying to tick off who I think the best team in the league is. Even though they're just sitting there at 3-3 right now, it just feels like since Worthy has come back, that there was a point in the summer, Tyler. Maybe I even said this to you. Like I feel like with all the talk about their demise, they get blown out in the Super Bowl. The offense has been inept for almost maybe 2 full seasons practically. Like I can feel a Patrick Mahomes 5,000-yard, 40-touchdown season coming, and I don't know that we'll get there. But boy, since Xavier Worthy's been back, now they get Rice back, it's popping again.
Yeah, I mean that Lions game. I mean, it was the 4th and goal just to see Xavier Worthy spring off the line. I mean, Amika Robertson for the Lions. Like he tries to get hands on him and just can't. Like that's what you're going to see now with Rashee Rice back. All these one-on-one matchups. All this speed, it's going to be a problem for all teams. And you know what? There's no identity issues in Kansas City. Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes have been together forever. I mean, they know each other's thoughts before either one of them has to say a word. And maybe that's would be a little disheartening if you're the Bills. Is that's what you have to get past, obviously, and throw that Burrow Bengals game in there. I think. These playoff losses, teams have scored on 31 of 40 non-kneel-down possessions. I mean, we've rattled off those numbers. They aren't pretty. And you had your own union in Brian Dable and Josh Allen. I mean, they did have that kind of relationship, and you were blowtorching teams. You had the perfect game against New England in the wild card. You had the 13 seconds game. That was the team, no doubt, that should have won it all. And it's not time to, write conclusions and eulogies and all that. But as we talk about the Chiefs and that partnership, I can't help but think of the Bills had it themselves. They had it here. And it's not like you can just keep Dable and let McDermott go, obviously, with what they were doing at that time. But I'm just telling you, this is from players, this is from coaches. That was a special, special relationship that they had right there at One Bills Drive.
What about Brian Dable at this point? Is he going to make it because Dart is good enough to save him?
Man, exactly. It's been rough. It's been rough for the Giants. I think so, though. I think that it took a long time, and they've had issues with injuries. But number one, just a misplaced faith in Daniel Jones. And if there's a lesson to take, I was just talking to a Giants coach about this. He's like, man, if you could have been a fly on the wall in those meetings, Brian Dable and Daniel Jones could not have been any more different personality-wise. We all saw Dable and Allen on the sideline, right? He's in his ear screaming after that interception against the Patriots. But Allen could take it. Allen could respond, and they were like blood off the field. They were unbelievably close. Daniel Jones is just very, very serious, very, very buttoned up, stoic. He's very sensitive. He never really got over the Hard Knock stuff. When they were actually thinking about Jane Daniels, he didn't like that. But even before that, I was told he signs that big contract that everybody thought was absurd. He was mad that it was just a 2-year deal and was kind of poo-pooing it behind the scenes. It's I don't know, Josh Allen. If there's a slight, he's going to go out there and basically say "F you, I'm proving you wrong. How dare you even think about a quarterback?" And I think that Dable wants a quarterback like that. And he was pushing hard for Jackson Dart. Personality-wise, they clicked. I think on the board they clicked on Shedeur Sanders. I think a report came out this week that, hell, he wanted him with their number 3 overall pick. And so they get Abdul Carter there. They trade up for Dart late. It's going to be ugly at times. They don't really have much talent around him yet. But, yeah, I think if Dart just continues to show a little promise, they win a game here or there, that he keeps his job as he should.
Best team in the NFC. You just saw Detroit up close. Is it someone else, or you like the Lions for this?
I still like the Lions. That was ugly against Kansas City. And Goff was pretty average in the second half. But, I think it's the Lions and the Bucks. I mean, God, we talk about all these injuries. There's nobody more decimated than Tampa Bay. I mean, they're 2 injuries away from trotting out, Rydell Anthony and Ike Hilliard from those old 90s Bucs teams at receiver. They got nothing. But Tez Johnson's 5'2", running downfield, and Baker's making it happen.
Listen, Tyler, some of us need production from Tez Johnson urgently. I
was going to throw a Jaquez Green reference. I'm sure you had him on some dynasty teams once upon a time.
May
right?
have. I probably did. If it's a guy, I probably had him. Yeah.
Imagine living your life in such a way that that's a sentence that you have to say. I need production from Tez Johnson.
Tez Johnson, baby.
It's just so tough. It's so
the Bucs are living that reality right now.
Right. Mayfield's got to be. I don't know, Tyler, if you've done a long piece on him already that I don't remember. But man, I would read the bleep out of. And he's just so easy to root for the way his career's gone to this point.
Oh my God, yeah, he's awesome, and we always come back to the Cleveland Browns just screwing things up here, don't we? Yep. I mean, they had him in house, and you let him get away. I'm kind of piecing together some reporting on that still, but one Browns player who's actually really close with Baker. He was telling me, look, at that time he didn't even really blame the Browns because he said that Baker was so ticked off at his employer, everybody there, for how they were kind of treating him. Remember, he had played the whole year with a torn up shoulder, his left shoulder, and the relationship was kind of broken. But the Browns, he said, were trying to get in touch with him for a while and just couldn't. So they pivoted, and obviously they pivoted to somebody that had some disgusting allegations against him, and Deshaun Watson, and mortgaged their future and mortgaged $230 million guaranteed, and it blew up in their face. But I think that it's still on the Browns though. You should know that that's Baker Mayfield. You should know that he plays off of emotion. He is, if confidence is a muscle, man, when he's confident, there's nobody better in football. And you should have known he was playing hurt. Like what you saw that fall wasn't Baker Mayfield at full strength. So, yeah, I mean, shame on the Browns for letting him leave the building. And how can you not love what he's doing in Tampa? I mean, he's competing with Kyle Trask at one point for his job after the Carolina Panthers kind of spit him out. And, I think that if he's the MVP front runner and he's just tough as hell. I don't think I can say it on the radio. Andy Janovich was a fullback for those Browns, and we were talking about that season and Baker playing through the shoulder and everything. And he said, quote, "The thing about Baker is he won't say bleep to anyone about anything. You could cut his bleep off, and he wouldn't bleep and say bleep." Like
you made it.
He is somebody that will play regardless of anything he's going through. And that matters when it's the leader of your team. And you see, what was the play last week? 2 defenders just had him sandwiched in the pocket, and he ducks, he escapes, he jukes, he rams through another. Like, he just plays off of emotion, a lot like Josh Allen when he's at his best, as well as any quarterback in the sport.
I think we got the spirit of the quote. So don't worry about what you left out.
Text me what you bleep later, Tyler. I'm confused.
Thanks, as always.
Appendage. If you were to cut off a certain appendage, he wouldn't say anything.
We're a little closer to understanding now.
Yeah.
Thank you, Tyler. What's next, quickly, for golongtd.com? Oh, you mentioned one piece. Yes.
Got the Lions story tomorrow, and hoping maybe to get up there to Bills country next week and be a big game. Who thought Carolina Panthers would be a big game? But they got to get a win. I think more than getting a win, it's just how it looks. It's got to look a little smoother on both sides of the ball. So yeah, probably looking at that a little bit.
4-2 versus 3-3 as we speak. Bills at Panthers in Week 8. Tyler, thanks again.
Hey, thank you guys.
Tyler Dunne on the West Her Hotline.